Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Dear God Love Me, the podcast. We are in season 3, and I am your host, Ro McKenzie, author of Dear God Love Me, Sentiments of My Heart, Depths of My Mind, volumes 1 and 2. And I'm glad to have you back for season 3. If you've been with us from the beginning, you kind of know how this goes. But we are endeavoring to do things just slightly different to make the experience better for our listeners and our viewers. But this afternoon, we have a very special guest with us in the person of Dr. Jackie Gates.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm very happy to have you.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. You look so wonderful. Look at you.
Thank you.
I love your earrings. You're giving me pre-spring.
I'm trying
I love it.
to usher in
all of the
spring.
Wonderful colors. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm honored to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about who you are. I know most of my audience probably knows who you are, but just introduce yourself anyway.
Well, I am Dr. Jacqueline Gates. I am a mother, a grandmother. I preach, I pray,
Yes,
I
do.
prophesy. I do, and so there's a lot of dimensions to who I am. So that I'm kind of shy about talking about myself.
Gotcha.
But for the most part, I want to be known as, or I believe that I am one who cares for God's people and people in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can attest to that.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes,
and your ministry has blessed me a great deal.
Thank you.
From afar, because I don't get a chance often to be in very close proximity with you. But I'm glad to have you in this space today.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about restoration.
Yes.
We're talking about restoration. And during the time that I wrote the letter in the book about restoration, there was a particular night. I don't remember exactly what was going on, but I remember not really being able to sleep. And most of the time, I know I probably should get up and pray when I can't sleep, but I grabbed my phone and I was scrolling through and I saw this video of an old coffee grinder. It was an old manual wooden and metal coffee grinder, and all you saw in the frame was the coffee grinder and the craftsman's hands. And for some reason, it caught my attention. And so I'm watching this video, and the craftsman was meticulously taking the parts together. He took every piece together. It was old. It was rusted. The parts wouldn't turn. There was a piece that he had opened up, and there was like an old beehive in it. So like something that didn't belong in there had taken up residence. And so I watched him take it all apart. He laid all the parts out. Then he began to clean them. He began to repair what he could repair. What he couldn't repair, he tossed away. And he cleaned everything up, and he lubricated the parts, and he pieced it back all together. And so in that whole video, I'm getting all this stuff downloaded to me like, wait, what? Like I'm seeing myself in the coffee grinder, like being pulled apart. And I started to think about different things where certain parts in my life, it felt like things were falling apart.
Right.
But it kind of turned into a situation where God was kind of whispering to me, like, maybe it's not falling apart. Maybe I'm taking it apart so that I can put it back together and restore it so that it can be used the way it was intended to be used. And so that was kind of the theme or the angle that God kind of gave me for restoration. And so I wanted to ask you what whether it be personal experience or just insight on the process of restoration in our lives.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that, because that was the word as you were talking about that coffee grinder. And that was the word that I heard, process. And many times we want to come to a conclusion before we go through a process.
Yeah.
And so with my own life, I lived through this challenge of always wanting to know the why of what I was going through. Why am I going through this? Why am I here? What is this about? And because I wanted to hurry and get to a conclusion.
Right.
Once I know why and I understand what it's all about, okay, I'll take this ride or I'll endure this hardship. But God had to show me the value of what your future is going to look like. You're going to have to go through some broken places, and you're going to have to know you better, then you'll understand who I am in your life. So when I understood, when I became aware of this was my cup of suffering,
Yeah.
this was what God wanted to get the oil out of my life. He didn't orchestrate all of it, but he took my bad decisions,
Yeah.
be it with business, be it with relationship, be it with now pastoring a church, a post-COVID church, making decisions that may not have been the best for that time, that season. He took that for me to understand it's not about you all the time, but it's about what I'm trying to make you into. So therefore, I got to throw you back on the wheel and get you out of your own way.
Yeah.
Get you out of your own way, because I'll go back to, the introduction and me not wanting to speak so well. It's not a false humility, but it's just that, the humbling part of me is, God, you have chosen me to do things that are so out of my comfort zone. I need a reset. I need to be restored. And I thought about that because in my younger years, in my teenage years, and developing right out of high school, and I'm gonna go right into a personal vein, now, but right out of high school, I was this very introverted personality, very shy, not one to go out in public and be social and do all these academic pursuits. Although I knew I had purpose, I didn't know how to attain it.
Okay.
And so I got married young at 19, and I had my first daughter, my eldest daughter, at 19. And then when that marriage did not survive or last, here I am still trying to find out who I am.
Right.
I haven't even accepted my call. I just know I'm saved, because that's what my
Okay.
mom brought me up to be saved. You're going to be saved. You're going to be filled with the Holy Ghost. You're going
Right,
to know
right,
God.
right.
Right? It's not about what your goals and what you want to do.
Right.
You're going to be saved. And that was from that old school training.
Yes.
And it's better to marry than to burn, church.
Yes, yes.
So listen, I'm not trying to figure out life. I want to find out who I am. You're going from their perspective of what righteousness and holiness is.
Yes.
And I won't say that it was all bad, but would I have waited? Absolutely, I would have. But I always say the blessing came out of the beautiful children that God gave me. But from that, being introverted, not really knowing what I wanted, who I was,
Right.
I allowed myself to be put in a mold and be shaped
Okay.
by what somebody else's idea.
Okay.
And that you need to be restored from.
Yes.
I needed to be reinstated from what somebody else's idea of who Jacqueline is,
Right.
and what she should be doing, and what she should look like, and what should be happening in her world, as she knows it. And from that, it was one hard knock after another.
Right.
For when the marriage did not last, now here I am, a single mother with 2 girls, raising them. But in that, I got to know God for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know the God of my mother. I didn't know the God of my then pastor. God rest her soul, his soul and her soul, because came under a lot of tutelage of different spiritual leaders. But I then got to know God for me.
Yes.
And then now I can say I'm really saved from what my experience with God.
Experience, yes.
And from that was that restoration for me to learn God, learn myself, not be angry at God, but to be grateful that this is where my journey starts. Now you have this canvas that you need to write upon.
Yeah.
And what does it look like? And so I want to, it to be heard today that even in your early years, where you did not make all of the good choices, or where you were floundering around trying to figure your life out, and oh, I'm young, I can, I could get into this later, I can do that later, I don't have to surrender, I don't have to be all in. Through all of that, I had to go through it to now be the woman I am today. So now the woman today is a confident woman.
Right.
The woman today has life experience. The woman today has raised children and now is, a grandmother. So I've had a lot of restoration processes.
Right.
I've gotten to a lot of junctures in my life that I need to stop and I need to assess this, change a job, recovering from an accident that I should be really, impaired to a way of handicap.
Yeah.
But God didn't allow it to be.
Yeah.
So I want to drive that, even though you're going through a process, pull the pearls, get the gems out of it. Because if you don't, you can look at your life, and then I think it's innately that we would start to compare ourselves.
Yes.
Well, they're 40 and look at all they have. They have the husband, the wife, the children, and the picket fence and the dog. I don't have any of that. I'm still, life is life, and I'm struggling, and I'm doing this, and I always get it so hard. That's what the enemy wants you to see.
Right.
So you're not fully restored.
Right.
He didn't see partial restoration. You can get an old piece of furniture and you can just say, well, you know what? I'll slap some paint on it. But you didn't restore it
Right.
to its full luster.
Right.
You didn't get it to its fullest potential, to the maximum potential. You didn't get it. You got to strip it. You have it. You have something valuable, but you got to strip it. And in our lives, God has to strip us.
Right.
He'll take what the messes we make and make it something so beautiful.
Absolutely.
He'll make it something so beautiful that it doesn't even look like its original form. I can look at my life. It doesn't look like its original form.
Right.
And it took all of that for me to come and sit here with you and talk about restoration, and that you can restore something that's valuable.
Yeah.
I'm valuable. You're valuable. Different walks of life, different experiences, but we're valuable to God because we understand the value of what He created.
Right.
It was the late Miles Monroe that said, a man or woman who does not know their purpose, then destruction is inevitable. And when we don't know why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing, we're going to continue to go through this revolving door syndrome,
Right.
trying to get to the next blessing,
Right.
get to the next miracle. You can get so anchored in your foundation that I'm standing on this foundation. It is steady, and although the winds come, the waves come, trials come, hurt come, pain comes, all of it comes. The foundation is sure.
Right.
And I got to keep building, and I keep going, and that's how I understand restoration. That my life is not over. Your life is not over. Those that are listening today, no matter where you are, your life is not over.
Right.
Because you hit a hard place, because you got a setback, because you experienced a loss, because maybe the person you love doesn't love you the way you love them.
Right.
The list can go on and on and on.
It's kind of like, it's a picture of, like, really before you know it, before you can, it's something that once you're out on the other end of it,
Yeah.
it's like once your mind is illuminated, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
So now I can put these pieces together. Now I see that this wasn't everything falling apart,
No.
right? But it was still, he took my mistakes, right? He took my
Yes.
bad decisions.
Yes.
He took even the circumstances that I was in that I didn't necessarily directly affect, but this is where I landed and
Yes.
put all of those things
All
together.
of it together. Yeah. And now it's a testimony. And I don't even share it. And, even when the girls would go to school, I kept, of course, my married name, because I did not want them to be questioned a lot, but it was stuff that I just didn't even talk about it. It was like that was a chapter and phase of my life I just closed.
Gotcha.
It didn't even exist. So when I would go and I accepted my call as an evangelist, a missionary evangelist, I started in ministry that way with my missionary license. It would be definitely God induced that I would go into a setting and talk like I'm talking to you today. People would never even know. They were like, oh, I didn't even know she was married. What? I didn't know she had children because I wouldn't bring it up. That was my way of shielding them.
Okay.
You know, I didn't put, them out there like that. And even my son, I didn't put him. Now, at this point, life has changed so drastically in the sense of technology, and everybody's on social media and all of that. And I'm out here and I'm out in the field and I'm evangelizing. I wouldn't speak of my son because that was my way of shielding him,
Yeah.
from the vultures and just different persons, that didn't know me.
Right.
Because when people don't know you, they will give an estimation
They'll make
of
it up.
what they'll make it up because it sounds good for them.
Yep.
It's good. It's a good storyline. It's a good storyline. Yes. Yes. But nobody really knows what restoration means but the individual that has been downtrodden, the individual that's been walked on and feel a misfit and left out.
Right.
Any adjective or negative adjective that you can think of when you are sitting in ashes and you're going through traumas in life, nobody knows that but that person.
Right.
So we learn to have compassion on each other because, again, I'm going to go back to this coffee grinder, go back to that. It had value.
Yes.
But look at this. It had to get in the hands of the right owner.
Yes, it did.
It had to get in the right hands. And when you are fractured and you got fragments everywhere, you need the right potter. You need the right hand. You got God's hand, but now that I know I'm in God's hand, who else will I allow to lay hands on me?
Yeah.
Because I'm of value.
Right.
I mean something to God.
Right.
I mean something to my children. I mean something to myself and to my community. So now I have to be very, very specific and of who I'll allow to have access to me.
Absolutely.
Because again, it's the vessel that has value to it.
Right. And the wrong hands, they'll toss it away.
They'll toss it away.
They won't see the value.
They won't know the value.
Yeah.
They won't know the value. So many people have dropped us and let us down in ministry and in life. They false promises and, false narratives and realities they trying to make us believe and dropped us.
Right.
Because they didn't know the value.
They didn't know.
But then once they realize the value, guess what? You're more valuable. It's up now.
Right.
It's higher. The
It's
value.
up now. I love that.
Yeah, it's up now. I'm up in my value. I'm not in the same place I was 19
Right.
years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
I'm not in the spot you dropped me at.
No, I'm not at the spot you dropped me at. Gotta preach.
I'm not there anymore.
I'm not there anymore. You're going to come looking, but you're not going to find anything
Right.
because I'm not there. But I had to learn, you don't have to talk about everything. But also, I want you to understand, you do not have to give people access to your life and don't try to hide parts. Don't try to, because that's how the enemy tries to blackmail us
Yeah.
in our restoration.
Yes.
Talk about this, and now you glorify it and you color it this way. He'll try to do that and confuse your experience, and now others can't be restored
Right.
because you're not telling me
Right.
how you fell.
Right.
You're not telling me how you knocked your knee. You're not telling me how you got thrown away. You're not
Right.
telling me. So therefore, I'm not getting the real parts.
Right.
Now I can't be restored.
Right.
Because I'm feeling ashamed. Like, well, maybe I shouldn't tell her that, but she needs to know that.
That's
There's
the
somebody
key.
that's
Yeah.
listening to this podcast today, and they need to know that There's life after divorce. There's life after death. There's life after your first love, for whatever that means. You know, there's life after that. There's life after single parenting. You know, there's life after loss of job, you know, home, all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah, God
Because
will
it's
restore.
those pieces that we try to hide, right? Because
Yeah, I don't want
we
you to know
haven't-
that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that somebody else needs for their
Yeah,
restoration.
yeah. Can't allow,
Oh my
cannot
goodness.
allow the enemy to blackmail you and hold you hostage. You may not want to share it all, but you got to share it in a way that redemption can happen for somebody.
Right.
Because after restoration is redemption. And
Ooh.
that's what he doesn't want. That's why God says, let the redeemed of the Lord. I belong to him. I got to say so. I got something to say. What? I don't want to talk about it. Talk about it. Because you're redeemed. When he reinstates you and restore you, the devil in hell cannot go back and get your stuff. God even puts up a sign and said, no fishing.
Yeah.
He ought to forgive them of that. They're forgiven. They're redeemed. They're justified. They have been declared righteous. So you walk with your head up. You want to know something, I can share it.
I feel like I need to just let that breathe.
Yeah.
After
I need some water.
restoration. After restoration is redemption.
It's redemption. And redemption says, don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
Just reign.
Yeah. You
Just
tried
rule.
it, but that's wrapped up.
Yeah. Move away from it. You have a new audience. You have new people in your life. You know? You have new opportunities, new doors.
Yeah.
Why are you walking around with this cloak? Why are you walking around with this burden?
Yeah.
Why are you walking around with this beast on your back?
Breathing life into it.
Yeah.
Nurturing it.
Feeding it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you feed will live. What you starve will die.
Yeah.
And we need to call a starvation. Call a
Absolutely.
famine. Call a famine on your brokenness.
Oh my goodness.
Call a famine.
T-shirt.
Oh, yes.
Famine on
Your
brokenness.
brokenness. Call it. I'm going to give that to you.
That's so
That
important.
are taken for the conference. You better get them T-shirts.
I gotta
Have
get
yours.
'em.
You own it. I'm at your show. I feel the power of God. Don't do this because I feel something happening right now.
Call a famine on your brokenness.
Call a family. You own that because you brought me here. So this will be my gift to you. You get those T-shirts. You get those caps. You put your signature on that. Call a famine to your brokenness. I
love
starved
that.
it because I had to
Yeah.
be, and that's what, it's a detox. That's what I had to go through.
Right.
And I'm not going to allow you to put this toxic feeling in me,
Right.
you know,
And
because I didn't make it at that job,
Yeah.
you know.
And we get so comfortable with feeding it.
Get comfortable
With
feeling
you got
it
everything you need.
Yeah.
You thirsty. Making it stronger. Making
and get it
it
stronger. And then now it's a giant. Sleeping with a giant that's invisible. It's invisible, but yet it has such a domination over us.
such a presence.
A presence.
Oh my goodness.
A dark presence. And you get up, you feeding it. You didn't even eat, but you feeding that.
I haven't even eaten yet.
I haven't eaten yet, but I got to feed you because you make me feel comfortable and I feel safe with you because you know me. You know my shame. You know my pain. You know my hurt. Yeah, but see, remember, Satan and a third of his angels got kicked out of heaven.
Yeah, they did.
They lost position. Your pain got to lose position in your life. You got to demote it. You better demote it. You got to demote it.
Yeah.
You don't want me, but there's somebody that do.
There's somebody that does.
Talk to that. That's what the famine is about.
Yeah.
I got to tell you who you are and what part you're going to play now.
This is so good.
Yeah, you got to talk to it. And so that's what speaking over yourself, being restored. Doctor gives us a prescription, wants you to take it 2 times a day for the next 7 days. follow up in my office. We don't know anything. We just know the doctor said it.
Uh-huh.
So that's the kind of thought that of redemption comes with authority. And God gives you that authority. The power of death and life, Proverbs 18 and 20. So, the death and life is in the power of the tongue. They that love it, we eat the fruits. We eat the fruit of what we say.
Right.
Our words are fruit. Seeds that we plant. What are you saying about your restoration?
What are you saying about it?
Yeah, because you'll have whatever you say.
Right.
If you say, I'm healed from that, I'm healed from that. So I can see you. And you're not going to alter my personality. You're not going to, I'm not, because there's somebody where I'm at that needs me. And that's what redemption is about. And we never thought about ourselves anymore. But as long as we were, chiseling and cutting and breaking and sanding and painting, we're trying to fix and reimagine or restore or reset something that we know is valuable, but we're trying to do it out of our efforts.
Right.
God said, just get there and let me do it.
What comfort.
Yeah.
Right? Just get there.
Just get there.
And I'll do it.
Yeah. Get out of those ashes. Get from the hiding out. You got so much in you. You have books inside of you. You have journals inside of you. You have an audience, waiting for you. And they want to know, who is Ro McKenzie? Who's Jacqueline Gates? Are you ready to tell them?
Yeah.
Are you ready to tell them? Ooh. And some, you can't tell them. You just got to show them.
You have to show them.
You have to show them what is redemption. Show them. I don't have enough time to tell you the story. Just watch this chapter I'm in right now.
Right.
You may not be able to get to the Genesis, but you get right here. We're in chapter 8, New Beginnings. We're in 8. Yeah, redemption.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's when that redemption is when you forgive yourself.
Oh, that's good.
When you release yourself. I release myself.
Yeah.
I tell my church, you have a divorced pastor. And that now pastorship is personal. If that's not what you want, then I'm not your pastor.
Right.
But I can't be something and then kill off my journey. No, respect the journey. And many of them don't even know the journey. When they, see this podcast, they're going to know that. But they don't know the journey. And it's okay that they don't know. And that's another part of the restoration. Some people, when they're in pain, everybody know they're in pain.
Everybody.
You're not going to be restored. You elongating the process.
Right.
If everybody has to know.
Right.
You're like filming and photo, any photographer. Back in the days when we had the Kodak and we would pull it out and then we put it in a dark room and when we come back, we have an image, But that was that process, but we don't do all those things now.
Right.
There's some things that people just need to know right now.
Right.
Because they can't handle what it took for you to pull you up or for God to bring you into a place of submission.
Right.
And humility to say, God, not my will.
Right.
But yours be done.
Right. I feel like that's so important.
Yeah.
To be able to know because some things can be harmful.
Yeah.
To someone else's restoration.
Yes.
So it's so important to be sensitive to that.
Sensitive, walk in compassion.
Yeah.
Be open and be okay. Be okay in your redemption that you're not for everybody.
Right.
There'll be thousands of divorced persons or pastors or leaders or single persons, but maybe that's not your audience, and you have to move in your redemption story.
Yeah.
Just be the story.
Right.
Be the story. Not always want to tell it. People know.
Yeah.
When you get up and you talk, you sing, you pray, you preach, you prophesy, it's evident. Yeah. It's apparent that I've been somewhere. This is not a YouTube clip before you.
Right.
It's a real story.
It's a real story. I I lived it.
Right, exactly.
I lived it.
I can tell you got parts of it, but I can tell you. So you trying to get a little bit from me, come in a setting and get the parts that you don't know and try to get a whole narrative. It won't work for you.
Right.
Because God is going to hide me in the cleft of the rock.
Right, right.
And he won't. He won't. God, that's the part of the redemption that I love about God. The Lord can cover you. And the Lord can protect you. And the Lord can watch over you. Because that's how valuable you are to God.
Yeah. Even when we don't see it.
Even when we don't see it.
Now, how can, because first of all, this is blessing me. I don't even care if we air this one. This one is for me. But there have been experiences, right, or people that I know, or I myself have been in this place where, like when you talked about starving, or brokenness and things of that nature, there is a space that, and I'm sure you've seen it too, where people, it seems like they've become intoxicated with their own brokenness. Right? Because whether it's because it gets me attention, whether it's because people are coddling me or trying to comfort me, and I'm reveling in this. How can we, as believers, as people who have gone through, brokenness and have started that process or gone through that process of starving it and getting rid of it, how can I say to this person, look, like, you're teetering. Like, let's not idolize this brokenness.
Right.
Let's not dwell in it. Let's not be so comfortable in it. How do we help them to break free from that?
I don't know if there is a remedy that you can. Because I'm going to go a little further with it. And you said so many powerful truths about idolizing it.
Yes.
Right? So in my mind and even in my spirit and through experience of, pastoring, when they start to idolize it, I think that they are revealing that there are some narcissistic ways about them. It's all about them. It's about my pain. Because nobody likes to stay in pain indefinitely.
Right.
Unless there's something
else there.
wrong.
Okay.
If there's some kind of personality disorder. No one wants to stay in pain indefinitely.
Right.
You want to be healed. You want to get up. You don't always have a handicap sticker.
Right.
You want to be able to move out the parking spot. Let somebody else's handicap get in there. So why do you still have your handicap sticker?
Why are you using the expired? Get that out your window.
Right. Because you don't want to walk far. You're still doing it. You're getting benefits that are expired.
I gotta go.
That you don't even need anymore. But that's a part of narcissism. It's all about them. They are self-absorbed.
Yeah.
They see nothing and no one else. You have a headache, surely they're having a heart attack.
Right.
And that's a disorder.
So run.
Yeah.
I can't help you right now.
You can't help them. Until they see and they're left alone and they see that everybody can't be the problem.
Right.
And I really don't want help.
Right.
So you can lose yourself and need to be restored because they have drained your entire life.
Right.
Because they don't want it.
They don't want it.
They don't want it.
And I can't want it for you.
You can't want it for them.
Okay.
You can't want something
Fair.
for someone more than they want for themselves. And it's not a punishment.
Right.
It's just the fact that they have idolized. You hit it right on the head. They've idolized what they've gone through. You can tell them all day, I've been divorced before. I know what this looks like. This is giving a whole lot of, shame and guilt. Oh no, but you don't even know because yours was 30 years ago. You don't know about that. Over 30 years ago, you don't know about that. But I'm telling you. So I'm trying to be this beacon of light, this hope, this window, of optimism.
Every chance you get. Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
Well, that's freeing.
Yeah. And you have to leave them.
Yeah.
Leave them. They'll figure it out. Because if not, what'll end up happening is they'll start manipulating you.
Yeah.
And draining your power. And draining your strength.
I can't afford it.
And you can't afford it.
Yeah.
You can't afford it. Jesus died. He was on this earth for 33 years. Mm-hmm. 30 years teaching, 3 years preaching, 3 hours to redeem mankind. And everybody didn't want him. So we're here. If he did this in 33 years and they still didn't believe he was the Messiah and they didn't want him, we're no different. We are his representation here on the earth. We're the closest to God that our neighbor, our brother, our sister going to see. The people that come in our churches, we're the closest to God they'll see. We're that representation. We are the ambassadors in the earth. If they don't want that, if they don't want God's representative, let it go on.
Right. Nothing I can do.
No. Because you're not customer service. You're a covenant partner. You're not customer. You better tap your neighbor and say, I'm not customer service. Sis, this journey has took me to another dimension. I'm not customer service.
I'm not that.
No.
Get somebody else to do
Customer
it.
service, they don't care. They'll have you talking to somebody in Calawoochee, Georgia.
Right.
They don't care.
Oh,
And here I am right
goodness.
before you saying, if he did it for me, he could do it for you. But we got it once we get redeemed and we're released to be God's representation. Let's be that trophy. Let's be that masterpiece that we're selective and the power of choice, that it's not about me trying to prove, it's just me being.
Just me being.
Just be. Just be.
I think that's a great place to let this settle.
Okay.
Because I don't think they're ready. This is gonna be the first one of season 3, and you're setting the bar
Lord.
very high. You're setting the bar
God bless
so
everybody
high.
coming out.
This has been a
Yeah.
huge blessing.
Yes.
A huge blessing. I'm very, very thankful that you came and spent some time with us.
Yes, thank you.
How can we stay connected to you?
Yes,
Online?
you can follow me on Facebook, Dr. Jacqueline R. Gates.
Okay.
I am on Instagram, Queen of the Gates, Dr. JRG.
I love that.
Yes, my email is PJG4Miracle, Pastor Jacqueline Gates, PJG4, the number 4,
Okay.
miracle at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yes, you can get in touch with that. And then my church, you know, the fire of God, the power of God is in Hempstead, Miracle Christian Center.
Yes.
334 Fulton Street in Hempstead. Park in the back on Bishop David B. Gates Way, Cooper Street. And come on in, Miracle Christian Center, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. That's the place to be.
Okay.
So come by, you know, and say, hi, Dr. Gates.
And celebrate.
And
with them.
celebrate. Let's get a photo.
Yes.
I'm not shy anymore. Let's get a photo. Let's talk. You know, let's praise God together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yes, I wish
Of
you great
course.
success.
Thank you so much.
And I know God's hand is upon you. And everything that you want to do, write that vision. Make it plain that they that read it, they can run. It's no more tarry days. Your tarry days are over. And no more tears. And no more setbacks. And no more inhibitions. You have an effectual, fervent door open for you. Walk in it and get that audience that belongs to Roe McKenzie.
Amen. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time. I'm going to go cry in the corner. Bye.